everybody. Welcome to Real Conversations with Nora. I believe that reading is essential to our mind, body, and soul. And our guest speaker today has proven just that. She is the author of 40 books. She is a vocalist and a relationship expert. And I am so excited that she is with us today for our first interview of a two-part series. I absolutely love her topic today, Sassy, Single, and Satisfied. And our guest speaker is none other than my good friend, Michelle McKinney Hammond. So, Michelle, let's just jump right into it. What inspired you to write this book?
That's my God Has a Sense of Humor book. I was not a sassy, single, satisfied person for a long time. When I came to the Lord, I was definitely single. I was definitely sassy, but I was far from satisfied. And so we had a little going back and forth between me and the Lord. And I said, okay, I don't want to get married till you can prove to me I can be happy with just you, because I will not be able to convincingly witness about you and that you're all we need if that's not how I feel myself. I can't be hypocritical in this thing called walking with Jesus. So I said, I really need you to show me the keys to not just success in life, but happiness and deep abiding joy that's not moving and fluctuating based on the status of if I have a relationship or not. So, God will take you up on a dare now.
Right.
And that's what he did. And he proved himself worthy of all satisfaction, joy, and fulfillment. And by the time I started writing the book, and the first time I wrote the title, I just fell out laughing. I said, okay, you got me. So that's how the book came into being. I had a lot of single friends at the time who were going through their own different levels of misery concerning the status of their relationship or the lack of status of relationship. And so I got to gather a lot of opinions and thoughts and wishes and hopes and dreams together and take them and lay them before God and say, what are you going to do with all these feelings, these needs, these desires, these hopes?
Right.
And he began to answer me and give me keys to getting to a place called happy. I just wrote them down, and that became Sassy, Single, and Satisfied.
And hey, everybody, I want to show you this book. It's Michelle McKinney Hammond. She's sold over 200,000 of this book. It's Sassy, Single, and Satisfied, Secrets to Loving the Life You Are Living. So this is the book right here. Let me see if I can put it over. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Right there. And I'm going to put it right in the middle so you can see it. And so this is the book that we're talking about. And then she went on, I'm sure God went on, and she started this devotional, and it's called Sassy, Single, Satisfied Devotional, Inspirations for Today's Woman. So let me see if I can get that in there like that. Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay, great. So that's perfect. Isn't that how God is? He has such a sense of humor. Sometimes we look at him and say, really? Are you kidding me? Are you serious about it? And so one of the other questions I do have for you is, why do singles struggle so much with being single? You being a single woman, and I find that women feel like they really struggle with who they are, and that they feel, and I'm not saying this about all women, of course, but they have to have a man to be complete, when we know that that is not true. The only one that we need is Jesus Christ. But so talk a little bit about that.
Well, everybody tells you that you should be with someone. You don't see a lot of single people on TV. They've got somebody somewhere. My friend Dwayne Bryant always says, you're either single, 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 or single, single, single. The different stages of
funny.
Some people are single, but they got some stuff going on, and there's some plan B's hanging around, and then there's the singles that aren't, they're not with anyone, but they could be if they really wanted to be. And then there's the singles that are just out there on their own. Okay. Right. And so what we see through the media is people coupling up.
Right.
And then you got Auntie Mary at every wedding and family function you go to saying, what's wrong with you, baby? Why aren't you married? What's wrong with you? And if you're part of African culture, it's like, well, you're not serious, though. You need to have a baby. It's not even really about
I love it.
It's like Get married so you can have the baby. You can dump the maid later, but you must have the child. Oh. You
I know something must be wrong. My time's running out. Oh my God,
Yes.
the clock is
So the
kicking.
biological clock is this internal thing from within, and the fact that we were made for relationship. So there's
Right.
a natural part of us that desires having someone in our lives on an intimate level. I mean, when God breathed into man the breath of life and we became a living soul, we all come into the earth realm desiring that eternal connection, that eternal kiss that He gave us, that really we cannot experience with anyone else but Him. But it translates into us finding someone that we have that connection with on earth. And He said it's not good for the man to be alone. Really, He was saying all one, totally involved with self, but we've taken it to a whole other level. And then we have the external pressure of societal expectations. So all of those things can really do a number on you if you're not secure in who you are in Christ.
Hmm. And
Mhm.
do you believe in that part, that having the right friends to pour into you and having those right conversations and connections? Because obviously, your single friends, and what their thoughts are about being single. Obviously, hopefully, something very positive.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about that, because that's so key. That's just so key.
Yeah. Well, you are your inner circle.
Mm,
I am blessed to be part of an inner circle of women who thrive. They're single, but they're thriving. And then I have married friends who are having healthy relationships. So I see that that's possible. But what it does is it also sets a standard in my life not to settle for less than that type
mm,
of man. The men that they have represented in their lives through those sound marriages, I see what that man should look like should he choose to enter my life. So
mhm,
if you do become the sum total of the people you hang out with. It's scientifically proven that your three closest friends will actually reflect what your life will look like.
mhm.
So there you have it. Some folks need to examine their friends.
Absolutely. 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 This is a great one. The next question: how do we recognize God's per- perfect timing? I know for me, after my first uh, nightmare of a marriage, and
Mhm,
it's divorce, and I felt like I needed that time to get to know who I was. I
mhm,
needed to, because he was emotionally um, damaging.
mhm,
He was very used to beat me up emotionally. I'll say that,
mhm.
and I needed to regain who I was, and
Yeah.
I I remember the day of my divorce, and my present husband now. Um, I was coming from, I don't know, I was coming from somewhere, and we ran into each other, and he asked me out, and I was like, oh no way, I today I just got a divorce. So I'm
Mhm,
not really interested in dating. I needed to get to know who I was and where I was going, and what I wanted, out of my life. And so he would just keep asking me every time I would see him. He said, "Are you ready yet?" And I said, "No, I'm not ready yet." This is when I knew this was God's perfect timing. I was on my way to my mom's job. He's coming out of a shoe store. I'm going up the street, and we literally locked into each other. And he said, "Are you ready?" I said, "Yeah, I think I am ready." And of course, the rest is history. But how do we recognize God's perfect timing? Because that is so key in finding being, finding that relationship, and that solid relationship.
mhm.
How do we do that?
I would
Yeah.
say that you know when it's right when there's peace.
Mm,
The word tells us to pursue peace and keep it by all means. And
mm,
God's will is always accompanied by peace,
yes.
the peace that passes understanding. If there's any check in your spirit, I say wait.
Mhm,
I'm fond of repeating something that my old pastor in LA used to say to me. Marvin and Juanita Smith, they would always say, if the situation is wrong and you are wrong, God says no. If the
mhm.
situation is right and you are wrong, God says grow. If
Wow.
the situation is wrong and you are right, God says slow. And
Mm,
when the situation is right and you are right, God says go. And that has become a rule in my life. That if anything causes me hesitance or makes me feel uneasy,
mhm,
I have to stop and say, okay, God, what are you saying? Are
mhm.
you saying no? Are you saying something in me needs to shift? Are you saying the situation isn't right? Or
Right.
are you saying, that now is not the time to do this. So it could become a timing issue, a me issue, a
Mhm.
God issue, or a situation issue.
Absolutely. Wow, that was great. That was great. That's so true because that's how it was a timing issue, a situation issue for Neil and I to be together. Who I actually dated when I was 16, and
Wow, look at that.
right, he got married and divorced, and I got married and divorced, and then but God's plan and God's
Mhm.
timing for us. So thank you so much for that because that is so true.
I
What?
always say, Nora, I fly a lot because I fly all over the world speaking. And every now and then the pilot will come on sounding very joyous and saying, "We've arrived early." Well, I never get excited because I know what I'm going to be told next. Well, we have to circle because somebody's at the gate. And sometimes we just have to know that somebody's at the gate, and in the perfect timing, when that person is removed, then the place is made and prepared for you. And then it is an easy disembarkation to get on to to where you want to get to.
Oh, I love it. 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 This is a great one here. What misconceptions do singles have about being married?
Oh, that marriage is the end all be all, that
Yeah.
gets graduation day, that finally you're going to be happy and fulfilled. And everything is going to be all right. That's a huge
Yeah, you have
misconception.
nothing to worry about. It's going to be fine.
Exactly. Every little thing's gonna be all right. No, 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 no. Marriage is college.
Mm,
Marriage is your PhD. It's your master's in
mm,
life and surrender and sacrifice and giving up, all the things that you hold clear and dear to become one with someone else. It is the manifestation of dying daily on a whole other level. See, as
absolutely
singles, you can choose not to die daily, but
right.
when you're married, you must die daily for your relationship to work.
Okay. I mean, really, you have
Mhm.
to work at it.
Right.
His perception, your perception, and then you got to come together on with those two perceptions, and hopefully those perceptions will become one perception. And
Exactly.
it's not easy, but and then I tell my daughters all the time. My youngest daughter, loving someone doesn't mean that you just stop.
Mm,
You have to work through it. If you love that person and that person loves you, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy,
right.
but you have to work with it. And I think that that's the misconception that he's the whiting shot, it's the armor that what came in on a white horse, well, a black person came in on a white
Yeah.
horse, and everything's going to be okay. But that's not always the case. That's
No.
always the
It's
case.
not. Sometimes, I mean, there's a dying to self that has to take place in any relationship, not
Yeah,
just a marriage relationship.
right.
When you work for people, you have to die to your opinions because somebody else is your boss. You have to come alive to whatever that company's mandates and culture are. And
Mhm,
even though you might like your job, you might not agree with every facet of it. And
mhm.
so some things have to shift in order for you to fit in with that job's culture.
Absolutely.
The same thing happens in a marriage. There's a culture that the both of you create together, which
Right.
means both of you have to get rid of some stuff to
Mhm.
come together as one. And that's why it's important for both of you to be whole before you start that journey. Because when two whole people come together, they
Right.
have a much better chance of having a healthy, whole relationship.
Mhm. And wouldn't you say, Michelle, that it makes it easier for you to have those difficult conversations with one another,
Yeah.
to be able to be honest and transparent with one another, to be able to say, I need to be able to speak to you. I always tell my husband this, I need to be able to tell you the truth about how I'm feeling. If I
Yeah.
want flowers, I need you to understand that I want flowers. If
Hmm.
you want this, I need to understand what you want. And I think
Yeah.
it's a coming to the minds and understanding what we want out of that relationship.
Hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So here's
That's
a good one. What key points can you give for becoming happy
mhm.
and fulfilled in your singleness? Which, and let me just say this, and guys, I'm not being prejudiced because she's my friend, but ever since I have known you, you have been like that. And I
Hmm.
think we've known each other for a,
Ooh,
for a while, almost a
a
decade.
long, yeah, how many years? It's over 15 years at least.
Exactly. And you have always been the same. And that's what I love and admire about you. So
Thank
share with
you.
our audience today because there's so many women who don't feel like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that it's a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. It comes with first discovering who God really is.
Mm,
And it starts there because you don't know who you are till you know who he is.
mhm.
You originated from him. I was separated from my natural father as a child, and
Ah,
I had an amazing second dad that my mom married. I did not feel the absence of a father in my life. I felt like I was his favorite.
mhm,
However, there was just this curiosity I had about my natural father.
mhm,
When I met him, I understood because I wrote a poem and I said, I met myself when I stepped into my father's eyes. My
mm,
face was his face. So many of the things I did not understand about myself instantly became understood
mhm.
because I was like my father. I
Mm,
just did not know my father.
right, right, right.
Ephesians says that it's in Christ that we discover who we are and what we are living for.
Mhm,
And I think part of the big disconnect for most singles is that they don't know the father on the level that they should. Therefore,
mhm.
they do not know themselves.
Wow.
So what they do is they attach their identity to the concept or idea of having someone come into their life to make their identity become intact.
Wow.
That is not how that happens.
Right.
Both people have to have an identity in order to identify one another
Mhm,
properly
mhm.
to come into union. So
Absolutely.
it is critical that you have a great sense of self, that you have a great sense of purpose, because the hole in our heart is not a person-sized hole. It is a
Mm,
purpose-sized hole.
wow.
That's why a lot of married people wake up that have basically good relationships, and one day they look at each other and say, "You're not making me happy." Uh,
Mm,
why is this person not making you happy? Because you got the partner, but you never got to purpose. You never
right.
developed into purpose. And
Mhm.
the person was never created to make you happy. It
Yep.
says the joy of the Lord is your
That's
strength.
good.
So
Yes,
his joy is what gives you happiness. He said
absolutely.
he was the one that's the source of joy that the world can't take away. He never said your husband's gonna give you joy that the world can't take away. He said, I'm
Mhm,
gonna give you joy that
mm,
the world can't take away. So it's critical for us to have that intimate relationship with our Abba Father God so
mm.
that He can reveal to us who we are, why we are here. And those are all clues that lead us to the right partnership. Because if I want to be, missionary in Papua New Guinea, a rock star in LA is not going to work for me. I mean, my passion is naked people. His passion is screaming people. Those two don't go together.
Right, right, right. Absolutely.
So paths, it says, how can two walk together except they
Yep.
be agreed?
Yes.
So there has to be, you got to know what you stand for. You got to know who you are, what you were created for, what your mission is on earth to even know if this person fits. I
Right.
would say dating is not for mating, it's for collecting data. Uh,
Mhm.
the data we're collecting is fabric, fit, and finance. Those are the three things. That's when you go shopping, that's what you look for. What's this person made of?
Mhm,
What cloth were they cut from? Are they marriage material?
mhm.
uh, you know, Fit. Um, does their mission statement for life coincide and complement yours and yours theirs?
Wow.
Both of you have to know if you're going to torture one another or
Right,
have a great relationship.
right.
And then finally, finance. If this person tears you down, causes you to compromise yourself and who you are, that's too expensive a relationship. You don't have that in your love budget.
Mhm.
So these are things that you have to take a look at. And you can only make them from a whole place. You can only have that observation. You will be afraid to ask the hard questions if you're desperate to have a
Right.
partner.
Mm.
So you'll find out stuff after you've jumped all in,
Mhm.
and you'll say, "This is not what I like at all." No, because
Right,
you were too desperate to ask the right questions before. You were
right.
ready to close the deal without knowing what you were getting.
Yeah, and that is so true. And I always tell my husband the thing that I love about him, he has always allowed me to be me. And
Mhm.
I have always allowed him to be him.
Mhm.
He's not my dictator. He's not telling me what I can do. Of course, we discuss things, and even then, he'll still say, you know what, but it's your decision.
Mhm.
It's your decision. And I think that when we come together, as two individuals. Well, the Bible teaches that, we evenly yoked, when we come together as two individuals, we come together as one on one accord. So, wow, that was great. That was amazing. So, okay, so here's a personal question. Tell us your personal journey to being sassy, single, and satisfied.
Well, it's riddled with a lot of dead bodies along the way. No, a lot of dead relationship bodies, I'm going to say.
Okay.
I made all the classic mistakes. That's why I'm an authority,
Expert.
Paul, when he was talking to the churches, he said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you my qualifications. I'm better at all of this than any of you. I'm a Pharisee of the Pharisees. I'm a sinner of the sinner." He qualified himself when he spoke, and I qualify myself because I made all those classic mistakes. I railed at God. I missionary dated. That's when you just find an uncircumcised Philistine and think you can save them.
Yeah.
You end up needing to be saved from them rather than you saving them. So I made the compromises. I did all the things I shouldn't do and said all the things I shouldn't say. I fell. I fell in sin. I got back up. I washed myself off. So I did all of these things. And finally, what I learned was I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I opted for peace. I declared a man fast and I said, I am not going to date someone until I get this right. And I think it starts with me because I am the common denominator in all of my failed relationships.
Right.
So I need to figure out what it is I'm doing wrong, correct that before I attempt this again. And it was a really good time for me is when I got to know God on another level. I got to understand what his concept of love was, what that looked like, which was not just flying hormones, but a lot of other stuff that had depth, lasting depth, the things that, last beyond when both of you are cute and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
I learned about what quality relationships look like.
Right.
And I'm just going to say to singles, if you're not speaking to people in your family and you always on the outs with friends, what are you going to do when you're living with somebody that you can't get rid of?
Right.
You got to be able to know how to navigate through relationships, the relationships that are available to you at present. One of the biggest mistakes that singles make is insisting on the source of love coming to them. God wants to love you a million other ways until you are put in front of the person that he wants to present you to as a lifelong partner. And we slap those away. There was a joke a friend of mine said, we go, "Oh God, please send me someone." No, not that one. Please send me someone. Nah, not that one. Oh, God, please. That one's not my type. Well, if you have a type, obviously your type ain't right because you're not married yet.
God, no, not this one. God, no, not that one.
So these are the things that we do. Are we really epithet? Are we really open to what God wants to do with our lives? And then I'm going to give you something that's probably going to make some people upset. Everybody ain't getting married. So you need to learn how to be happy where you are. I mean, and that is just biblical prophecy. That is not lacking faith. Okay. In Isaiah, it says that in the last days, and I do believe, oh Lord, more than
Jesus,
we
Lord.
are at the beginning of the last days. It says that 7 women will cling to one man and say, "Just give me your name, I'll buy my own bread." And we see that now. We see women being willing to share men. We see them willing to provide for themselves with deadbeat guys just sitting around taking money from them. So we are in that era where everybody's not getting married. So what are you going to do? If God came down and sat at the foot of
God
and said, "Missy, sir, I'm here to tell you today, you are not going to get married in this life. You are officially engaged to me. I've been waiting longer than all of you have been to finally have a wedding. But just know that in this life, you will just belong to me." What would you do? Well, how would your outlook on life change? What would you activate? What would you get busy doing? What new focus would you have? So those are questions you have to ask yourself. And if you can get to that place, you, like Ruth, if it's ordained, will happen on a field and you will be noticed by your Boaz. And Ruth didn't go to the field looking for Boaz. She went looking for food.
Right.
And Boaz found her.
Yes.
So if you can just occupy till he comes.
Yeah.
we'll be a lot better off.
Yes. Wow. That was so awesome. So, Michelle, thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for joining us today on Real Conversations with Nora. Please spread the word. Join us every Thursday right here at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as we bring you more powerful guest speakers and exciting topics, join us next week for part 2 with today's guest speaker, Michelle McKinney Hammond, where we will be discussing romance. How do you find it? And how do you know when it's real? Trust me, you don't want to miss that one. Michelle, thank you again for being our guest on Real Conversations with Nora. Our audience is interested, I'm sure, on how to purchase your book. Please tell them how. And I want to post the books up here again. This is the book here, right here. Sassy, let me see if I can get it over here. Sassy, Single, and Satisfied. And this is the devotional book, ladies, the devotional book. And it is Sassy, Single, and Satisfied Devotional Inspiration for Today's Woman. I'm trying to get it over here. Let me see if I can get it over here.
Good.
There you go. There you go.
All they've got to do is go to my website at michellehammond.com, and all my books are on there in the store and on the front page. And when they click on it, it will take them to a place where they can purchase.
40 books, guys, 40 books. And I have to say personally, this is the woman that inspired me to write. I would, wherever she was in Atlanta, I would go there and purchase books, and it just has inspired me to write. So thank you for your inspiration that you give to countless women all over the world. You give your heart all over the world. You have a big heart, and it's not just the heart in the United States, because I am here in Atlanta, and she is actually not even home yet. She lives in Ghana, Africa, but she's been for 3 months now in London, 3 months because of the pandemic. And so we're praying for her and God's grace and mercy that she'll be able to get back home to her home and to her dog, to her puppies, because she loves her puppies. So for sure. But Michelle, in closing out, I'd like for you to close out with whatever is on your heart and your spirit about being single or sassy. Well, I want to say single, being single. I want to put it there, being single.
Well, I would just say that having an amazing life does not depend on another person being in your life. Make sure that you surround yourself with a great support system of friends who are living life to the fullest. Stay accountable and transparent with them, and do life, and life will overtake you.
I love it. I love it. Do life and life will overtake you. Well, remember, join us every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be here to share with you Real Conversations with Nora. Thank you again, Michelle. I love you with the love of Jesus. It's been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.